Let's do it.
Oh, please don't do this, computer. Please don't. What are you doing? Oh my God. My computer, sometimes it just like wants to do things and then it freaks out and now it's tanking my FPS. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, really? It was working and now it's not working. Well, how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm going to try and get this back and fixed, but my PC is now, the stream is down to 30 FPS for God knows what reason. So I'm going to try and change some stuff and see if we can. All right, it was the 4K webcam. Well, guess we're not doing that. Didn't like the 4K webcam. It was freaking everything out. Now you got little Moltar for a second, and we're gonna fix this. PCs and me lately just have not gotten along, and I don't really understand what the deal's been. It's been rough. You ever go through that, Billy, where it seems like everything's working for you for a while, and then all of a sudden everything just takes a massive dump and nothing works? Yep. And no matter what you do, you'll just get random stuff that'll just stop working for absolutely no reason.
And it's really hard to diagnose or troubleshoot because you don't know why it happened. So like it doesn't really give you a place to start, you know.
Right. So I'm just trying to figure out what the hell was going on, and now seems like it was the 4K webcam. Seems like we're fixed now. Hopefully my voice is matched up, but we were going to like 44% CPU usage just because of a 4K webcam.
Seems a bit odd.
Volume is really low. Well, shouldn't be. Everything, my voice should be okay. I mean, I can turn it up a little bit. Does Billy need to come up at all? Maybe Billy needs to come up at just a smidgen. But yeah, I know you guys don't like hearing my voice, but since I've shaved the bread off my face, it's just, it is what it is, and you know, whatever. But guys, we got a decent match coming at you. We got Baby Shakers taking on Outer Haven. I have not seen either of these two teams fly, so not entirely sure how this is going to go down. It could go really fast. It could go really short. The one thing I do know that happened here is that the server did not record the track properly. So we ended up having to use a private track again. So there may be some issues with the track. These issues have since been fixed. There was just a week in there where the servers were not recording the tracks properly. So this has since been fixed. After these couple streams, we had the same issue last time on Tuesday. Now we're having that again today. So hopefully after today we don't have this issue again. But hopefully we don't run into any issues going into this. So without further ado, let's jump in and see how these guys are going to get on. I'm going to get some stuff set up, and when I see you guys back here in just a minute, Baby Shakers taking on Outer Haven coming at you here in just a bit. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to try and see if we can get this figured out. When you guys say low, Do you mean like it's inaudible or it's just lower than it's been in the past? Because I can turn up volumes. I had to change from 48 kilohertz to 44 kilohertz to try and figure out and fix some audio issues with some clipping and some background crap where I felt like 48 was taking up too much of my bandwidth. So I've dialed it back down, and hopefully we're a little bit better. But they may be maybe a little low. But if anything's low, I did turn it up mid-video a little bit. So if voices are low or anything, just let me know and I'll turn them up. So Xander says lower in the past. Now is that just lower in general, or are you talking like just the voices are lower? Because I can get that stuff fixed. That's not a problem. Just let me know and I can turn things up. But while we're talking about that, I can turn my mic up slightly so we can go. Well, I can turn my voice up. Is that any better? That should be better. Now, I turn mine up. I'm going to turn Billy's up a little bit more. So try.
See how I sound there.
Try Billy now. I turned Billy quite up. Can you talk again, Billy?
Yeah. Let's see.
That should be pretty even. All right. So that should be pretty good. The game volume I can. All right. He says it's getting way better. The game volume I'll manage on the fly. But let's jump into it. So again, Baby Shakers taking on Outer Haven. I have not seen either of these teams fly. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea how this match is going to go. So we're just going to jump right into it and see how they get on. Sitting here with... Who are we sitting here with? We are sitting here with Baby Shakers down at Tbilisi. So this is going to be a Tbilisi versus Mozdok matchup. Looks like Baby Shakers are rocking 2 F-16s, an F-18, and an F-14. Unknown what Outer Haven is taking. But while we've got a minute before these guys take off, shout-outs to our new Patreon patrons, Kevin Seaman and Alex Condos. So I apologize if I mispronounce either of those names. You guys all know I am horrific with names. So if you guys want to check out the Patreon, there is some pretty cool benefits that you can get from it. The panel for the Patreon link is down below, so check that out if you have any interest in that. The flight leads, which is what both of these guys registered as, you can ask a question that will be answered on stream. And Alex asks, as a new player who is learning the F-15 while I practice in the F-14 Rio position, love watching the Tomcat, I find I like the bigger planes with more missiles. I've also gotten a bit more experienced, however. As I've gotten a bit more experienced, however, I find not having data link is very deadly as you miss threats you would otherwise catch. I guess my question is, if you like the F-15 and the BVR combat style it offers, but want a data link capable aircraft, what would you pick and why? I'm tempted to say the Tomcat is the next best step, but I'm open to any advice. Well, the Tomcat is a pretty good option. I'm tempted to say the Hornet if you want a singleton aircraft. The Tomcat, I mean, my first thing that I'm going to say is you got to find a way to not rely on your data link. You got to find a way to move away from that being a requirement for you to catch all of your threats. That would be my first suggestion. That's going to come from learning radar management and your scan patterns and just really getting more used to how you can integrate with the plane to make the best use of its capabilities. So my first suggestion would be to try and learn and gain more experience so that you're not getting you're not leaning too much on the data link. Second would be, you say you like the bigger planes. F-14 is really good, man. It sounds like you've already got the F-14, so that would be my first. That'd be my suggestion, or the Hornet. I mean, what would you say, Billy?
I mean, I'm inclined to lean towards the Hornet just because he talks about missile count, and if you're looking to chuck AMRAAMs or spam rams out there, as they say, then yeah, the Hornet is going to be your best option, I think, with the data link there, data link capable plane, and I think. Excuse me. I think the data link thing is with especially with new pilots. I think a lot of that is through experience too, and certainly flying flights without data link is going to help build that SA. But that definitely, I think a lot of that stuff comes over time too, and flying with a flight too, minus data link. Having more guys, more radars to look around and kind of supplement the fact that you don't have a computer looking through and scanning through and doing all that stuff. You guys kind of have to do it yourself. But having friends to help with that whole thing is big. Going on to some of these public servers and flying, without data link by yourself is a challenging thing. Some people do it. We see guys be successful in the Mirage doing that type of stuff where, that doesn't have a high missile count, track wall scan, or data link. And we see guys time and time go on and be very successful with those airframes. So once again, it's all about how you employ the plane in your hands. But yeah, having all that stuff definitely makes life a lot easier.
I mean, chat, do you guys have any suggestions for Alex on his question? My initial thought is F-14, but the F-14, you have to interface with the Rio. So if you're wanting, but it sounds like you've already got some experience dealing with the Rio, and obviously the more experience you have in the Rio seat, the more knowledge you're going to have on what to do with interacting with jesters. So that'd be my first inclination. If you want a single seat, the F-18 is more complete than the F-16. I'm an F-16 fanboy. I'm the type that really only flies one or two aircraft, and my two are the F-16 and the A-10. But the F-18 is definitely more complete. So if you're wanting to do air-to-air and air-to-ground, that's probably be my suggestion. It's pretty capable as far as an air-to-air fighter. Urutaraman said, or sorry, Mongoose says Tomcat, it flies the same, high energy fighting, high speed, no fly-by-wire, gesture is close to non-issue. That's true. That is true.
I don't know. Jester gets a ton of team kills, at least from what we see. It can be difficult, I think, for the Jester situation to sort the friendlies and the non-friendlies, depending on how many people are kind of mixed up and jumbled in there.
That is true. So but then you should know, the pilot should know, just don't shoot into a situation where there's friendlies out there.
Right, absolutely. That should be paramount there. And the data link to having as its limitations on the 14, it can only display so many contacts, before it starts just not giving you stuff, which I think is a big factor if you're talking about data.
Before we jump back into this while they ingress, let's talk about what teams are flying. So we already talked about what the Baby Shakers are flying. Outer Haven is taking 2 F-16s and 2 F-15s. So they're flying Xander and K-Gunner, and then Blueberry and Diamond. Diamond Draft. So I'm going to call him Diamond from this point on. Who's flying for Baby Shakers is Runfast and Spock and Skittles and Phoenix. So this is an all-NATO fight coming in here. No Red 4 aircraft. JF-17, I think in DCS we typically classify it as a Red 4 aircraft, but I think really it's a NATO aircraft. It's not, because it's flown by who? The Indians or the Iranians? Who flies that?
What?
The JF-17.
The JF-17 was a joint Pakistani-Chinese project.
Yeah.
Right. So Pakistan wanted to.
It kind of sits in that, like, no man's land of what side it would be on.
Right. Yeah. There's a couple other countries that have bought them. I don't think anyone's taken substantial delivery. I think more than like a handful of airframes. I don't think there's any other full squadrons out there. Maybe. I'm not positive. But yeah, that was made as a cost-effective replacement for Pakistan because they didn't want to spend the money on F-16s anymore. But it doesn't have military grade radar. I believe its radar is commercial grade, which is
really
interesting concept. Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's new, right? It's very new, so like post 2000, but it's I don't believe it's military grade. It's commercial. A lot of the stuff in there, where they didn't need to go military grade, they didn't, just to save cost. So some of the components are pretty interesting in that thing. But the way things are shaping up now, Pakistan becoming pretty ingrained into the Belt and Road Initiative, I think we can pretty much at this point safely move Pakistan to the red side, at least in my opinion. I know that can be a dicey thing, but at this point they're pretty woven into, Chinese assistance and, kind of coupled up with that whole thing. So I would say we're probably to the point where the JF-17 is a red aircraft, but I don't see JF-17 is participating in red flag anytime soon. So.
No. That's very true. That's very true. Well, Alex, going back to your question, I hope that answers what you think. My biggest advice to you, though, is try and build a skill level where you're not reliant on the data link. Because if you're able to do that, you will be much more potent all around. People that have a tendency to be reliant on the data link get themselves in trouble, and they have a tendency to blame the systems of aircraft for not seeing context when it really comes down to the pilot. So we're getting closer to being all in here. Teams are separated now by 24 miles. We should be starting to see missiles, and indeed we do. So we've got a 120 coming from the Baby Shakers side and a 120 in response from Outer Haven. Those are decent shots. The past few matches, we've seen missiles being launched from 40 and 50 miles, and these were inside 30. So I'm much happier with the distance that these are being launched from. So 40 and 50 miles, totally not effective. And you'll see even here with the 120C that even from 24 miles, it struggles to get there. I mean, this missile launched from 25 miles is already down to 1,300 knots indicated, and they just run out of energy. So if you put any type of defense on them, it's dead in the water. Like, this one's coming down under 1,000 knots, and it's not going to be able to catch them. At least I wouldn't think.
Yeah, it didn't like that had enough energy to do what it needed to do, but this tends to be a lot of the way these opening salvos go these days.
I mean, we can take a look if we grab K-Gunner here and look behind him. So there's the missiles. So that about a half nautical mile, somewhere in there. But if K-Gunner were to do any type of serpentine, that missile's not going to catch him. And am I going to eat my words? 0.2 mile? Nah, it's out of juice. It is totally out of juice. Yeah, it's totally out. I thought I was going to eat my words there for a second. I was like, Moltar, were you wrong? But no, I had it.
He did a pretty good job not wasting a bunch of chaff there, too, if my memory serves me
yeah,
correctly.
in that situation, I would have liked him see you do a little bit of serpentine, because when the missile's in terminal guidance, it's going to try and pull that pure pursuit or lead pursuit, and when it's doing that, it's very susceptible to serpentines. But let's jump over and take a look at Xander. So Xander has got a missile coming on him. It is, do we see it? I don't see it. There it is. So there's the 120 from 1.5 miles. That could be trouble. That's going to be an issue coming in for him, and he's way too lackadaisical on the defense there, and Xander gets pounded in the face. And that was, we saw the same thing from K-Gunner, but that missile launched at Xander was just much, much closer and had a significantly higher amount of energy when it reached its target. And if you defend in the same way K-Gunner did against those longer launched weapons, you're going to die. You're going to fly into the ground.
After the initial salvo, closing the distance and taking quality shots. You could see it. It's very good.
I do like that Baby Shakers didn't feel threatened at all, and they kept the hot press, which is exactly what we're seeing here now. So you can see that they are much, much more aggressive coming on to the Outer Haven side. We actually just saw somebody disappear and hit the ground over here to the right, northeast of Bullseye. So Outer Haven is down to 2 pilots remaining. K-Gunner coming in against 3. I think it's actually against 2, but he is in a 2v1.
Why he's pushing there, especially after losing that pilot. I'd be circling back to
I don't know.
My teammate there, trying to give him a Twiz solution on some of these guys to maybe buy us some space,
Yeah, I don't know. And
he shouldn't have pressed there. He was out in the wind.
Baby Shakers making sure he's dead. He's already falling to his doom, and they just put another 2 into his face. And we're seeing Jester because this is an F-14 track, so excuse anything that you see from Jester, but this is a track from Skittles, so that's why we're seeing that. So this is Skittles track. So just try and ignore that for now. But that was unfortunate. That was really, really unfortunate. And we haven't even seen the F-14 do anything. Nothing. And we're down to a 4v1. So Baby Shakers are just ruling the roost. Especially Run Fast and Phoenix seem like they are not taking anything for granted. We actually lost 1 pilot for Baby Shakers. I didn't see who got hit, but that must have been from K-Gunner. he must have launched and then taken somebody down. At least that's my assumption. So let's ride along with Run Fast in his F-16 as he ingresses. He's still got a centerline tank, which is unusual. That thing should be empty. But he's ingressing in here against the last person, the last opposition for the Outer Haven side. So let me grab our Outer Haven combatant. So there goes the 120. It's Diamond Draft, so F-16 on F-16. Let's go to dual view here. Where is that missile? Where is that missile? Is it probably above him? It's here somewhere. There it is. Okay, so here come the threats. Onto Diamond Draft. We can see Run Fast ingressing onto him. Try and keep these as close as I can in here. But Diamond Draft he's in trouble. Do you see a way for him to get out of this? I mean, he's doing a decent job of defeating that first AMRAAM, but that was launched from a long way. And now McRunfast or Thick Run Fast is all over his 6. I mean, he was able to utilize that shot to close the distance. So now he's inside merge range, and Diamond Draft he's in trouble. You there, Billy?
Yes, indeed, I am.
Okay. Music sounds like it's taking a dump, so I'm going to turn that off. Another missile coming from McRunfast on the Diamond Wrath to keep him defensive, and that's going to enter from Diamond Wrath's lift vector, and he gets taken out. So that was... Runfast did a really good job of forcing Diamond Wrath to stay on the defensive, and that's exactly what happened. So Runfast forces Diamond Wrath to stay on the defensive. Diamond Wrath isn't able to respond, and McRunfast is able to continually put himself in a position where he's in a really high, has a really high PK chance. So I asked you this previously, Billy, but did you see a way for Diamond Wrath to get out of that?
I mean, I just feel like there was a couple opportunities where they probably should not have pressed. One guy, it was reported, I believe it was K-Gunner, pressing there when he probably should have been curling back to his teammate and maybe allowing him to get a shot that would buy them some time and some space to figure things out. Just better shot choice on the opening shots there. I feel like maybe some missiles were wasted, especially given the airframes chosen. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just a little bit more communication as far as once things kind of started the bullets started to fly there, as they say.
Well, we actually missed. So we actually missed a shot coming from Diamond Wrath. So during Diamond Wrath's merge there, he was able to take down one of the Baby Shakers. So Baby Shakers has 2 left. Drunken Bear, no. They can't see the labels. So these are tracks. The tracks, I go in and I edit it in the mission editor, so I turn the labels on after the match has been flown. These guys do not have labels. I turn them on in the track via the mission editor by editing some of its parameters in order to we have a much more viewable experience here in the track. The labels make things much more easy to see. You're able to see who's who a lot easier, who's on what team, where missiles are. It's a lot easier and a lot more convenient. Convenient in my opinion. I'm going to change something here, guys. Give me a second. But what do you think, Billy? I mean, F-14 really didn't do anything, and I think it was the F-14 that ended up getting hit there. I'm not sure because we're riding along with Spock and I'm editing something else. But what could Outer Haven have done there to mitigate that? I mean, 2 of their guys died seemingly from, we talk about this time and time again, but being too high and too fast and not defending aggressively enough. They just kind of waited too long.
Well, there's just not enough cranking going on. Nobody cranks anymore. I feel like cranking is this lost art that we never see. Everyone just shoots and keeps flying straight and then waits till they get a pit bull and starts evading. And not everyone too. I shouldn't really throw everyone into that category, but a lot of people I see that now as where, cranking on one side of your radar is notched as far as you can to present as little of a picture yourself as possible. Turning in and shooting at that optimal moment when you have all that energy. I don't know. I just feel like we don't see that enough.
So you're talking about an F-pole.
Yeah, to some degree, yeah. I mean, I guess more along the lines of just beginning to maneuver into your notch before you're even, before you're letting that shot go, right?
Hmm.
I just feel like we don't see enough people preemptively notching and putting themselves in a better position to get away from that missile.
Hmm.
Too many people start that evasion just too late at the end of the day, and I
Yeah.
think that that can be a problem.
Right.
Maybe too late and not enough of maneuvering, like, and you pointed out earlier, lack of, we don't see a lot of serpentine, and that's to me one of the most effective ways. You don't really have to spend a lot of energy on your end to do that, but what that does to that missile, however, really pays in dividends. And you can, I think, in a lot of cases, recommit faster by using that serpentine maneuver to bleed that
Hmm.
missile of energy,
Hmm.
right? So I just think those are important
Well,
things.
we do talk
Hopefully
about that time and time again, but I think the most important thing here is to ensure, and I need to really iterate this to everybody, is that you got to be looking out of your cockpit. You got to be not just tunnel visioned on your data link and your radar. You have to be looking out of your cockpit, and you have to be thinking ahead of your airplane. If you're just flying headlong into a situation and only reacting to that situation when you get a missile warning,
Yep.
you're gonna put yourself in a bad position, because let's say you're reacting and you're able to react, and you're anticipating that it's going to be a 120 that's launched at you, and you think you've got enough time that when you get the missile warning, you can break away. Well, what if it's a Phoenix? All of that geometry and stuff that you're planning for against a 120 goes right out the window.
Yep.
So it's really important that you try and think ahead of the airplane and build a picture in your head of where all of your opponents are, where all of the opposition aircraft are, what types they are, what types of weapons they have, and continually think about where you need to be positioning yourself and your wingman to have the best odds of coming out on top. So I've talked about this in the past, but you want to be creating scenarios where it's not a 50-50 fight. You want to be creating scenarios where you're in the driver's seat, because obviously you want to be in a position where it's 90-10 instead of 50-50 or 40-60,
Right.
because that's not a good position. I mean, when you are going to die, have the possibility of dying at least, you don't want to be in a position where the odds are against you, or if it's evenly matched
Yeah.
between you and your opposition. So
50-50 doesn't get you home enough. There's no doubt. You
no.
have to leverage the situations to get that advantage. It's imperative before you go into into a lot of this stuff. You need to be working to try to get that advantage. That's
Hmm.
such a valid point.
Hmm. And so it's really important that new pilots especially try and build habits that allow them to not rely on the aircraft sensors. And I feel like we see that a lot in SATAL, and that's one of the big reasons why in Diamond League I made half the missions not have AWACS, is because I think since AWACS has become more of a thing. A couple years ago it really wasn't, but since AWACS has become more of a thing, especially since the F-18 has it, now the F-16 and the JF-17, I think we're starting to see pilots more and more rely and lean on it to gain their situational awareness, when in reality they should be using it as a tool to not supplement, but enhance their situational awareness. Most of your situational awareness should be coming from your legacy tool of your Mark 1 eyeball or Mark 2 eyeball, and also from your radar scanning. Because there's times where there could be a guy right in front of you and AWACS just don't see him, but your radar will. I mean, especially if he's flying away from the AWACS or perpendicular from the AWACS, you're not going to see him. So it's really important that you not lean on those tools, and you lean on yourself in order to find your adversaries. Doom Sniper says, expand the bubble for more tactical play. All of the missions have different bubble sizes, or most of them do. So it's up to the teams tactically to decide which mission they want to fly on. So there's missions that have 100-mile bubbles, and there's missions that have 40-mile bubbles. It's up to the pilots to figure out what type of environment they want to fly on. And I think we're almost home. There's the airfield right there. It's up to the pilots and the teams to decide what type of tactical approach they want to take. So obviously in this scenario, they chose to have a small to medium-sized bubble because it's Mazdak versus Tbilisi, which I think is probably 50 to 60 miles across, probably closer to 50. But you can have much bigger bubble sizes. It's up to the teams to decide because you have that mission banning process. Billy, what did you like from the Baby Shakers side? I liked their aggressiveness.
Yeah, I mean, that was really, I think, the key thing there was they were very aggressive in nature, and it proved very fruitful for them. I think they had very good shot choice. They weren't really wasting a ton of shots. I think I saw some double taps in there that may have been, just multiple reasons those things can happen. But
Right.
that was really the only thing I observed that it's like, at least in the first one, for sure.
Right. Now, the F-14, it could have been track corruption, but I didn't see the F-14 do anything.
You see, and this is where from watching it beforehand, I want to say there was two Phoenixes that got shot out that did a good job chasing, but I don't think there was a kill there. I don't know. I'd have to go back through and obviously look at it. But I think maybe more in the second round. I think we see them be a little bit more of a key player and thing.
Okay. Spoiler alert, Billy. Got to work on you with that.
Well, I don't think I spoiled anything. I just kind of gave you, a little bit of info on what's ahead.
Uh-huh. You can rationalize it however you want.
Who knows? I may be wrong. I may not even remember what I'm seeing right. It's me we're talking about here.
That is true. Mustache could have gotten in the way. Chat, what do you think? What do you think the teams could have done a little bit better? How did I manage to play the tracks without corruption? What I mean by corruption isn't the right word. Sometimes you get desync. Desync is a better word, where the aircraft do things that they didn't actually happen in the match, especially when they're first-person tracks, and then you go in and you edit them so that you can view all the other aircraft. The server tracks are what you want. So it's not corruption. It's that sometimes there's desync. I haven't seen any desync yet, so hopefully it all works out. But in these first-person tracks where they come from a pilot instead of the server, you can get some desync issues instead of the server tracks. The server tracks are almost 100% good to go, but we'll have to see. It looks like the track is over, so we're going to head back to the studio. We'll jump into the TAC view. I'm going to send you guys, we're going to take a look at that supercut again, done by Alpha Whiskey while I get the TAC view set up, and we will go through that, and then we'll be on to round 2, Baby Shakers against Outer Haven. Baby Shakers lead 1-0. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just getting the tracks set up while we, well, my computer decided it didn't like that very much. I'm just getting the TAC views and stuff set up for the upcoming round. So it'll be just a few moments while I get, not the TAC views, but the tracks ready to go. So I just got to get them so we don't have to sit here for 15 minutes while the guys jump in the aircraft like we did last year. which was really annoying because you never knew when they were going to take off. Sometimes it took 5 minutes, sometimes it took an hour, and it was just wasn't very fun. So again, chat, what do you think these guys can, especially Outer Haven, what was their downfall in this? I mean, I think their biggest thing was seemingly not getting their eyes out, but I'm just sitting here in front of my computer. I don't really know. What do you guys think actually happened there? Billy, who do you think the player of the match was, or aircraft type of the match? What was your seeing there?
I mean, definitely seemed like the 16 was probably the more effective airframe in that one. It was difficult to tell. There was a lot of dissimilar aircraft going on there. I think what we have 14s, 16s, 18s, and 15s. Yeah. So decent array of aircraft, but it definitely seemed like the 16 shined the brightest. Maybe, I don't know. Tough to tell there. Definitely, we didn't see the 15s get a kill, so we can strike them off the record. I don't believe the 14 did. I'm not. So it's going to come down to the 18s and the 16s, and there was more 16s. So I'll go with 16s on that one.
You heard it here. He's going with the 16. Well, the 16 got the last kill, and it got the last couple kills because Diamond Wrath was able to shoot down the F-14 for the baby shakers. So the 16 seemed to be like it had a. It did well.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the patch, because we had a huge patch that came out yesterday. Have you noticed anything that in that patch? One of the biggest things, I haven't had a chance to fly, but one of the biggest things I've been curious about was the F-16's drag changes.
Which I wouldn't qualify myself as the best guy to comment on that. But it definitely felt like I had a little bit more maneuverability with the tanks on. I don't know. It definitely felt different. I can't say whether it was a massive change or improvement for me, but it definitely did have a little bit different of a feel to it. Biggest thing for me was being somebody who flies the Hornet a lot. The screens in the Hornet do not have that massive glare problem that was going on. A lot easier to read now. I believe some of the functionality around the color screen works as far as the symbology adjustment and all that stuff. You can really kind of fine tune how that map screen looks now, which is nice. Let's see what else. There seemed like there was a lot of changes to the editor. Editor had a bunch of functionality changes going on in there, which is kind of cool to see. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm ready for this Syria map now. I'm hoping we get a release date on that in the next.
I did see there was a comment on YouTube with the next Syria video. Somebody said it'd be really cool to see Wags fly the Hind, and he was like, "It would be cool, wouldn't it?" I'm like, "What does that mean? Like, is he gonna do it or what?" Kubrick says the biggest change must be multi-core for VR users. Okay, I gotta from what they say in the change log. That is not multi-core, from what I understand. So they talk about core affinity. So core affinity means which type of core, or not which type, which core the process or the application prefers. So DCS had an affinity for core 0, which means if you had other applications that had an affinity for core 0 and you were maxed at 100%, it would freak out. So that's kind of what's happening when you guys have audio issues and my PC takes a dump, is because this is an older patch that we're running the game on for the tracks, so we don't have that. So all of the core affinities are set to 0, which means they're using core 0. So if it maxes out at 100%, from what I understand, it starts to chug. But from the latest patch, if I understand it correctly, and any of you guys tech gurus can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but the latest patch, it changes it so that the DCS can bounce around to different cores, which that's how it's supposed to happen. So if you notice that your cores are going up and down all the time, it's usually because your PC is moving applications around all the time, and instructions are happening on multiple cores to get the best performance. So it no longer has that core affinity for 0. It's able to go other places. At least that's what I've understood and how I understood it. In order for it to be a multi-threaded application, they would have to rewrite the whole application from how I understand programs and stuff. It would need to be, the core engine would need to be designed in such a way that it could take advantage of multiple threads, which DCS does not. Maybe with Vulcan. Maybe we'll get it with Vulcan. That would be nice. That would be nice. Well, let's take a look at the TAC view, see what happens. We can see in the TAC view clearly if the F-14 or any other aircraft did anything that we missed. So let's take a look, see what happens. I'm going to have to adjust the screen here real quick to fit it into the OBS window. So just give me a second after we switch over. Okay. So here we are in OBS. Let me grab this. I got to fix the TAC view window. Where are you? Capture TAC view. Unlock that.
Textures are looking nice.
Yeah, Billy helped me with those textures. So that is nice. I do really like those. Let's move that down. Let's move. Just give me a sec, guys, as I position this a little bit better. And we will leave it right there. Okay. So let's look at TAC view. Nothing really happens for a while. These guys, I'm glad we could fast forward because these guys don't take off for almost 40 minutes. 40 minutes. So now we take off, and their first incursion, if we look here, first incursion is 25 miles, 26 miles or so is when the first missiles come off the rail. Make sure you guys are seeing center. Yeah, you're seeing center. So missiles come off the rail. K-Gunner really takes a lax defensive posture. He's still at 34,000 feet, and he's not very fast. 0.9 Mach. He gets really lucky. I called it early that these missiles weren't going to hit him, but in all honesty, if he had waited even a little bit longer, those missiles would have hit him. So he gets really lucky. I mean, those things were sniffing at his exhaust fumes. I mean, you can see right here how close those things end up getting. Music's messing up again. I gotta look at why my music's messing up. So they respond. Outer Haven launches a couple 120s, a couple from the right, one from the left, from Xander. But nothing really ends up happening. This one's at 5,000 feet, so that missile's trashed because there's nobody that's low. McRunfast is at 15,000 feet, but this one's just that missile. And these two missiles, I think. Why don't those track at all? Oh, that's 37,000 feet and 59,000 feet. So this missile just goes up and then it loses track. That's unfortunate. My voice is going crackly too. Is my voice still crackly on stream, Billy?
I'm not hearing you on stream. I'm only hearing you on whatchamacallit, but I can turn on the volume and check.
Yeah, turn on the volume and check.
Yeah, there's a lot of crack. The stream audio is getting some sort of static.
Billy's crackly. It's mainly Billy's voice.
Is it just me?
Let me turn off TAC view. If I turn off TAC view, does it go better? Let me turn that off. Did that fix it?
No, it's fixed now. It's fixed.
Okay, so it's TAC view. I wonder why TAC view's freaking out. But your voice is okay now, Billy?
I don't know. When I just talked, I felt like it was bad.
Billy is.
I heard myself fine, and then I heard it crackly again.
Still fuzzy.
Yeah,
Let me restart
crackly.
the audio engine and see what's going on. Okay, we should be back. You there?
Is Robo Billy still there?
We fixed. I hope we
No,
fixed.
Robo Billy's still there.
You are?
Yeah, Robo Billy's still a thing.
Sometimes I really hate this shit. Where did my OBS client go? I don't know where OBS went. Show. Well, OBS has disappeared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart OBS, and we will be back in just a second.